Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Henry and, on this channel, in this series, we celebrate prominent monarchs each week. If you are new to the channel, welcome. If you like this kind of content, consider liking and subscribe for more. If you are a returning viewer and have subscribed, thank you for your support. This week, we are celebrating 5 monarchs who have celebrated their birthdays this week, the royals being Edward I of England, Charles XII of Sweden, James VI and I, King of England, Scotland and Ireland, Sigismund III, Vasa and Edward, Duke of Windsor, formerly Edward VIII of England. Let's take a look back and imagine what it would be like during the reigns of our monarchs by starting off with Edward I of England, who was born on 17 or the 18th of June, 1239 to parents Henry III of England and Eleanor of Provence. Edward was called Longshanks due to his height and the Hammer of the Scots due to his attempt at conquest of Scotland. He was also the Lord of Ireland, and from 1254 to 1306 he ruled Gascony as Duke of Aquitaine. Edward went on crusade in 1270, where he learned that his father has died, and he is the new King of England. Edward rebelled against his father in 1259, siding with the barons and fighting for the provisions of Oxford. He remained loyal to his father after their reconciliation, joining in the Second Barons' War, the Battle of Lewes, where he was captured, held hostage and eventually escaped, and the Battle of Evesham. Edward became King of England while taking part in the Ninth Crusade. During his reign, Edward reformed royal administration and common law, regulated criminal and property law, and was credited for establishing Parliament as a permanent institution. Edward was also increasingly involved in military affairs. He conquered Wales, naming his son, Edward, as Prince of Wales. All subsequent male heirs to the English, and eventual British, throne was given the title of Prince of Wales. Edward was also involved in the First Scottish War of Independence, becoming known as the Hammer of the Scots, and a war against France, recapturing Gascony from them. He married twice. His first wife was Eleanor of Castile, the union producing 6 children that survived into adulthood. His second wife was Margaret of France, the union producing 2 sons that survived into adulthood. He died on the 7th of July, 1307, aged 68. Our second prominent monarch for this video is Charles XII of Sweden, who was born on the 17th of June, 1682 to parents Charles XI and Ulrika Eleonora the Elder. Charles became King of Sweden at the age of 14 and was almost immediately set upon by neighboring powers whose aim it was to dismantle the Swedish Empire. Charles was a skilled military leader and tactician and was able to win multiple victories despite being significantly outnumbered. His many successes in war enabled him to make peace with many of the countries that started the war to dismantle Sweden, all besides Russia. Charles experienced defeat at Poltava, which led to the surrender at Perevalokna, resulting in his exile to the Ottoman Empire. Charles never married and had no children, as he spent more than half his life and nearly all his reign consumed by war. He died the 30th of November, 1719 at the age of 36, leaving the throne to his younger sister Ulrika Eleonora. Our third monarch is James VI and I, who was born on the 19th of June, 1566 in Edinburgh Castle, Scotland, to parents Mary, Queen of Scots, and Henry Stuart, Lord Darnley. James became King of Scotland on the 19th of June, 1567 on the forced abdication of his mother Mary. As the great-great-grandson of Henry VII of England and Ireland through his mother, he was also in line to those thrones. He eventually became King of England and Ireland on the death of Queen Elizabeth I on the 24th of March, 1603, the crowns being combined in the Act of Union in 1707 during the reign of his great-granddaughter, Anne. During his reign, the plantation of Ulster and English colonization of the Americas began. James also survived the Gunpowder Plot of 1605 and conflicts with the English Parliament. James wanted England and Scotland to combine their parliaments, judiciaries, and laws, but was unable to have this come to pass. James avoided plunging his countries into the religious wars of the time, including the 30 Years' War. James was a prolific writer, becoming involved in works such as Demonology of 1597, The True Law of Free Monarchies of 1598, and Basilicon Doran of 1599, and sponsored the translation of the Bible into English, which was named after him as the Authorized King James Version, and the 1604 revision of the Book of Common Prayer. He married Anne of Denmark, the union producing 3 children that survived into adulthood. James holds the title of the longest reign in Scotland of any Scottish monarch. James was the first British monarch to call himself King of Great Britain and Ireland. He died on the 27th of March, 1625, aged 58. All subsequent British monarchs are descendant from James. Our 4th monarch for this video is Sigismund III Vasa, who was born on the 20th of June, 1566 to parents Catherine Jagiellon and John III of Sweden. Sigismund was elected as monarch of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth in 1587, seeking to unify Poland and Sweden under one Catholic kingdom upon the death of his father in 1592, creating the Polish-Swedish Union. Protestant Sweden was opposed to having Catholicism forced on them, resulting in a war in which he was deposed by his uncle, Charles IX, in 1599. Sigismund actively interfered in the affairs of neighboring countries, invading Russia during the time of troubles and causing the downfall of Sultan Osman II of the Ottoman Empire. Domestically, Sigismund undermined parliament in an attempt to hold on to absolute power. Sigismund suppressed internal opposition, strengthened Catholic influence and granted privileges to the Jesuits. He was an enlightened despot, presiding over an era of prosperity and achievement, and moved the country's capital from Krakow to Warsaw. He married twice, his wives being the sisters Anne of Austria and Constance of Austria. Sigismund and Constance had 5 children that survived into adulthood. He died on the 30th of April, 1632, aged 65. Our final prominent monarch for this video is Edward, Duke of Windsor, who was born today in 1894 to parents King George V and Queen Mary of the United Kingdom and British Dominions. As Prince of Wales, Edward courted many controversies, least of all in his love life. In January 1934, Edward met his future wife, twice divorced Mrs. Wallace Simpson. Edward became king on the 20th of January, 1936. As Edward was head of the Church of England, and as the Church of England did not permit, at that time, the marriage of divorced persons, his intention to marry Mrs. Simpson caused a constitutional crisis in Britain. Edward abdicated on the 11th of December, 1936, fulfilling his father's prophecy that he would ruin himself within a year of ascending the throne. Upon his abdication, Edward assumed the title of Duke of Windsor, married Mrs. Simpson and lived in exile in France for most of his life. He was succeeded by his younger brother, George VI, and, eventually, by Queen Elizabeth II. He died, childless, on the 28th of May, 1972, being buried at Frogmore. Edward has brought us to the end of our video for this week. I hope you have enjoyed the content, and if you did, like and subscribe for more. See you in the next one.